Hello, 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 Facebook family. How are you? Welcome to Season and Beyond. Enjoying life to the brim. Okay, guys, listen. This is Diane, this is Spirit Love Diane. At the beginning of this show, it was a little clip in there about a conference. My conference is going to be next week, the 18th, 19th, and the 20th. Spirit of Love Towards Hope. Third annual conference, and it's going to be virtual. And we're going to have Pastor Dana Hamilton from Unleashed and Minister Teresa Johnson, um, the founder and CEO of To Serve with Love. And we're also going to have Dennis Reed again. I'm going to bring him back this year and let him talk about something that he started new this year. He just had a launching for it, I think maybe 2 months ago, and and I want him to come and talk about it because it's about is he talking? It's the title of his organization is We Influence LLC, and it's from church from individuals 15 and up. I believe. I don't know how far up. Excuse me. He'll be able to tell us how far up, but I think that it's an awesome thing, right? And the name of the conference is New Movement for Purpose, right? And the reason I named it New Movement for Purpose this year is because we're doing a lot of things new this year, right? A lot of things are new, from the pandemic, right? We saw that and I'm not, again, I am not downing like inside the worship place because I go inside, the worship place. But we have a new view on how we, worship, our higher being or the universe or, whoever we worship, God. Um, we have a different way of doing it, and it's like virtual now. And a lot of people chose not to even go back to the inside of the building and actually, staying at home and enjoying the services, virtually, right? And not only that, the new movement into purpose that I wanted to talk about. That's even in serving, even in serving whoever you serve, right? That it's a different move, a different environment with that now that we don't. As a matter of fact, I was going to talk about. I had a someone on my live not too long ago, and he was part of the residency program that I did when I was becoming a chaplain, and I was talking to him the other day, and he's about the same age as my youngest. I think he's about 27, and I was talking to him the other day, and we was talking about being endorsed, right? Because you had to be endorsed before you become a certified chaplain. And I was telling him, oh, well, you introduced me to this place. Why don't you just go to the same place that you that you sent me to, right? And he said, well, they might not appreciate that because they're all in the God thing, and I'm not really, into the God thing. Into this new humanist thing, and they might not appreciate it and stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is that all of our younger generation, not all of it, I'm sorry, not all of it, but our younger generation and some of our new generation, I'm gonna say we're because I'm in that group also. We're doing different things when it come down to how we serve God and who we invite inside our group and things, right? Whereas in some places you may go, everybody is not invited. But this new thing that we have going here is what Jesus brought. Oh yeah, I can't talk about this. This is for my Thursday. But anyway, this is what the conference is going to be about. And I want to talk about Dana. She is out of the box also. She reminds me a little bit of of Dennis, whereas in she goes, out and minister all over. It's not inside the four walls, it's on the outside, right? And when we think about it, that's what Jesus did. When we say that we want to be more like Christ, I don't really think that people really understand what they're saying, because Christ didn't minister inside a building, and he didn't minister with the elite, right? He ministered with the ones, the downtrodden, the ones that people didn't want to touch, the ones that, people didn't want to be around because they were up here and they consider them down here. I don't want you to see my hands down here. So, we don't mingle, but the new thing that uh, Christ brought was that we are to go outside the walls and minister to everyone and let everybody know that they have an opportunity, right? And that they are in the number, right? And we don't do that. We condemn, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about that tonight when I talk about health. Y'all, I'm sorry. I went to the beach this weekend, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I enjoyed myself to the fullest. But every time I go to the beach, it never fails. Every time I go to the beach, I get sick. Every time. It never fails. I told my mother, I think I'm allergic to the beach. But I would not have changed what happened this weekend for nothing in the world. I'm just going to go through with this and pray that it hurry up and go away. And it's not COVID, okay, guys? It's not that. So tonight, this evening, rather, I want to talk about what about your health, right? And I want to put it in the frame of shame, right? And the reason I want to talk about it in the frame of shame is because a lot of times, um, we're shamed into not doing things, we're shamed about who we are, uh, and and sometimes I think people enjoy it, right? And not only that, that we individually feel shame also, right, about certain things, in our life, and not willing to be vulnerable about the things that's going on with us, right? And I can talk about that because I used to be that person that, certain things in my life I would not talk about it. I would just let it just roll, right? But when I began to talk about it and to be unapologetic about it, it began to heal me, right? Because I thought that I was going to go absolutely crazy. But when I started verbally talking about my shame and how I felt and stuff like that, about what somebody had said to me to shame me, shaming me, I began to start feeling that freedom, guys, that I always talk about, right? And it began to metamorphosize into who I am, and I don't have any regrets about it, right? And it's still not only from like individuals, but through the scriptures. Some people, you can be shamed, through the scriptures. And I don't think that that we should interpret the scriptures in a way that is shame or push people, to to think that they don't belong, right? Because that's what I feel like shaming is. And from the definition, that's basically what it is. It's universal, and all cultures, have this thing called shame, within them. And I have my paperwork over here. Okay, that's why I keep it over here, and I have it over here. Okay. So it's all over. So what does shame, where does it I'm gonna say what it is first, okay? I'm gonna tell you what shame is, okay? All righty, come on, let me get it. Shame is the feeling that a person is at their core bad or wrong. A person might feel shame for no reason at all, or long after they have made amends for a misdeed, right? Shame can lead to a host of mental health challenges, including depression and anxiety. It may also make it difficult to get close to others. Some people are so paralyzed by shame that they are unable to be productive at work or school. Shame to work or school. And I'm going to talk about that part right there, right? Because I used to be like that. I can only talk about myself. I can't talk about nobody else. I can only talk about myself. If anybody want to come in and talk about themselves, they can, but I can only talk about myself. But the part in here about when it says it may also make it difficult to get close to others. Some people are so paralyzed by shame that they are unable to be productive at work or school. And I was like that, right? When I was when I would work a job, I would the first my very first instinct was not to mingle with anyone, right? During that time, in my life, right? To not mingle with anyone. And that's been, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, that's been since my very first job up into until my job that I had in when I was a programmer, right? And see, and the thing about programmers is that you can be in that bubble, right? Because programming is a secluded job. I guess that's what I'm going to call it. Alienated job. Did I say that right? Where you basically by yourself a lot, right? Until you need to ask a question. So that job was just right for me. It was my element where I didn't have to worry about a whole lot of people around me and stuff, all of that, because I just felt like that from past things that had been said or things that had happened with me that I didn't want anyone to get close to me, right? Because I felt like that I just had all that shame, like boom, just all over me. And it stemmed from, I'm just gonna tell you what it stemmed from. I was a teenage mother, right? And not realizing or not realizing it, but not confronting it, right? That there's a lot of teenage mothers, but I felt like that it was just my shame thing. And then, and not only that, I just went into like silence. I didn't do a whole lot of and I didn't do a whole lot of talking anyway, right? And then the introvertness of me also took a toll with the shame, right? So being a programmer was the number was the greatest job for me during that time, right? But when I decided to go back to school, right, then that's when it seemed like I was able to start mingling just a tad, right? Just a tad. And for one reason is because I started being by myself a lot, right? And I thought I was just going crazy. I started thinking things that maybe people were saying and they really wasn't saying it, and things because of the the innate shame that I had in me, right? And that's way the anxiety come in because I was full of anxiety, right? Like if I had to get up and say something, I was just like tore up, right? I was just like, God, you're gonna have to get me out of this here, right? You're gonna have to get me out of this. But it began to take a toll, right? So when I got my first master's, right? I it was in a school where, and other schools might have it too. I'm not for sure, right? But this particular school had on campus therapy, and I just went in and took therapy, and that was one of the things on here, and that's why I say, what about your health, right? And that was one thing on there that began to that was my process into coming out of the shame because it was beginning to be toxic to me, and that was one thing in his that it says shame definition. What is toxic shame, right? And it says toxic shame is shame that leads to chronic negative emotions, right? Or behavior that harms oneself or others. People who feel chronic shame may think they are unworthy of love, right? Others may fear connecting to others, convenient that others will eventually see the real person and reject them, right? This can cause numerous relationship issues, right? And And that's the way I was, right? It was beginning to go into that chronic shame, because I wanted to stay. I had begun to like be in my room, and I really like um, isolated myself, really truly from my family, and it was not a healthy thing. But once I got into therapy, and a lot of people won't talk about this. A lot of people, are still in this frame of mind, right? And don't even think that it's harmful to their health, right? And and one thing that I always pull, the one thing that I pull out of the Bible, of many things, right, is that to have a regulated mind, right? And that's one thing that I am truly, truly grateful for. And over the weekends, that was my very first thing, that I said, Bishop Swirly, I wanted us to bring things that we was grateful for, and I am grateful for a regulated mind. But during that time, I was beginning to experience things that wasn't good for me, right? And I went and then I started reading. I had made a little I think I said this before. I had made a little prayer closet in my closet, moved stuff around, and I read the whole Bible. I was just reading about, I think I read the Bible about 3 times, right? And and that was just my little spot, right? Because God, I'm saying, what is wrong with me? Why can't I face, people? Why can't I do this? Why can't I, do that? Why can't I receive the things that I think that I'm worthy of? But then back in the back of my mind, I really felt like that I wasn't, worthy of those things. And that's what it says in here about the chronic shame, right? And but when I started getting the therapy, health, y'all, this is what about your health, mental illness. When I started getting the therapy, I found out that the things that was holding me back was the things that wasn't really a big thing, right? To be able to hold me back, but it was big to me, right? But once I started expressing, once I started verbally saying it, and then began to start loving me, right? I started beginning loving me, but it was a process, because I think I got my master's in 2010, somewhere 15, somewhere around in there, somewhere around in there, right? And and it was a process that I had to take because I was still feeling, that way, but nobody knew. You can hide things when you have issues uh like that. You can really hide them, because you can be in the you could be in the public and not be in the public. Understand what I'm saying? You can place yourself in the middle of a crowd, and you can feel like that there's nobody there but you, because you have isolated yourself. And I've done that many a times, many a times, just isolated myself. But I know that in Jeremiah it tells us that when God created us, He knew us, right? I'm just going to paraphrase it. He knew us, and y'all know that I probably say this on all of my lives, and I like to say it because I want all people to know that you're here for a reason, and you're not a mistake, and that you are loved, right? And when I started reading that scripture in Jeremiah 1:5, right, that God created us, and He knew us, right, and He didn't only know us, He made it something in us that He desires to be used, right. And in Jeremiah, it was that the prophet to be able to tell God's people what needed to be said, right. But He also enabled each and every last one of us with something, right. And if we can't begin to love ourselves and know that we are worthy uh, of being who God created us to be, that's a burial, right? A burial, like let me say that right. That's like a block on what God would desire for us to do, because you'll be stagnated. And I was stagnated for a very long time. You're stagnated, right? And you're not in the right frame of mind to do what God has ordained you to do, right? It says in here that and this is, I thought it was just me, but it isn't, right? And I used to think the same thing. I thought it was me, but it isn't. A lot of people have the same thing, and shame with themselves, right? Before I read this, I'm going to say I used to always wonder, and we still talking about health, and we still talking about shame, right? And I used to always wonder how people could just uh, like just step out and just do things, just open their mouth and just be freely, just to say, what was going on, and be, just be a fluent speaker, right? Be a charismatic speaker, right? Or an awesome singer, and just step up and just do it, right? Just like bam, right? Just start singing, right? I used to always um, wonder, how in the world, do they do this? How is it possible that you can just boom, just get up and just sing? But once I started talking, asking people, I just started asking questions. How you bold? How in the world can you do this, right? And I've learned that a lot of people be scared out of their wits, right? Scared about what the audience in front of them gonna say, and they always had this thing, in the back of their mind. But I always thought, that they were confident, and they just like, just went out there and just did that thing, right? But a lot of people not, and it's not in that way. It's not. It's still shame, because you do it, but you still shame because you worried about what other people are gonna it's thinking of you, and that's what that definition up there was talking about also. But now I think that even doing this here, that it took a it really, even when, excuse me, when I come on here, I have to really be prayed up, and just like bam, just come up here and just start talking, right? But again, I have come through a lot of those things, and I just want the viewers or people out there to know that if you feel this way too, that you're ashamed of anything, I think that we can get over, a lot of things. When I'm free to say some things, I am gonna say, I'm going to talk about this particular part, in my life that I didn't think that I would ever get over, right? But I did. I did, and I'm good. I'm good with it, and it don't really bother me as much as it used to anymore. So and I just feel free, from it. It don't, I just feel like, I can just move on from it, which I have to. It don't, I mean, it can't come back and kill me now. So I just move on with it. So, and with Brene Brown, she said, we experience it, we feel it, we sometimes live with it for an entire lifetime, but we don't talk about it. See, that's the thing right there, is that we don't talk about it. When we don't talk about it, it stay in you, and it begin to infect you, right? It begin to wear a hole inside of you that needs healing, right? When we don't talk about it. And the thing about that, we don't talk about it because we think that vulnerability is a weakness, right? But vulnerability is not a weakness. I had read something, and I meant to write it down. I read something that Hakeem put out there earlier. I can't remember what it was. I meant to write it down because I wanted to say it tonight about who you are, and oh God, what was that? About who you are and how you can exist with it if you allow yourself to exist with it. I'm just paraphrasing because that's what I'm remembering from it. That you can be, who you are if you decide, to be, who you are. But you have to make up your mind to want to move from where that shame in your life and move forward, to the purpose that God has designed you for. Because as long as you stay in the shame, the majority of the time with individuals, you're not going to do what God has designed you to do, right? Because with me, I was getting the degrees, right? But I wasn't doing anything, with them. It was just something like at the time, it was something, I guess I want to say it was a process for me to like be able to come out of the shell, right? And I felt like that if I could come out of the shell and go back to school, because even when when I went to school, when I graduated from high school and got my undergraduate, it was like I was always alone. I would always sit in the back of the class. I would always, do the work and get up and boom, shoot, just get up and go, all the time. I would just, always would be by myself, because I always felt like that, that there was always something going on, about, what I mean? And then, and I used to think that, who are you? Who you think you all that somebody is always, but I just had that thing, about, I don't, sometimes I try to explain it, but sometimes I can't even explain it because it's crazy, right? But Brene says that when was the last time you had a meaningful conversation about shame, right? And I have them all the time now. I am just unapologetic about, the things that has happened in my life, the things that I felt so shamed about that it doesn't even bother me, it doesn't even bother me anymore. And that's a part of, okay, let me read this other part of how we, get out of, this situation, right? With shame. And guys, this is a this is, I think my computer is getting ready to die. We do it like this. This will, a lot of people think that I don't think people really believe that shame will cause like depression and anxiety and drive you completely crazy, you know, uh, because I don't think people really realize that that is the cause. I don't think people really realize that the cause of why you're a loner, um, why you feel unworthy and not loved, right, is because of shame. And it can come from a lot of things, like, right, now identify some of the things with me, right? But it could come from, you as a child, right? And you're being always belittled all the time, saying, things about you from your parents, right? And then it could also come from school, where the kids, you already like, feel a certain way about yourself, right? And then in school, the kids are just bam on it, just keep going, just bam on it, right? So shame can come from many things, and I'm going to tell you some of it, because a lot of people, can't identify it because they don't realize that they're in it, right? And it could come from, guilt. It could come from embarrassment. You've been embarrassed so many times. And let me see. Uh, hmm, yeah. And it make it come from other things too. You identify, and when you identify that that is the problem, right? And then you start talking about, why, why these things are going on, with me. So how do you begin again to heal from this, healing from a shame? Okay, now this is not mine. I got it from online, but I know for a fact that the way that I began to heal from it is through therapy. I went through therapy, and that's how I began to heal from it. Not medication, just talking. And that's what Brene was saying, is that the reason why a lot of times that we can't be healed from shame, because we won't open our mouth and we won't say something. We won't be vulnerable about what's going on, with us. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. Vulnerability is not a weakness. Vulnerability is a strength for us. It's a strength that begin to reveal things that's going on in our life so that we can get some help for it, right? So getting help for shame begins with identifying, again, shame for emotions, right? And some people are not conscious. That's what I was saying earlier. Some people are not conscious of their shame until they begin to talk about it, until you begin to talk about what's going on, with you. And then you'll be able to identify that, okay, this is a something that shamed you, and then begin to evolve, into something else, right? So, and then it says, because shame is linked to feelings of unworthiness and low self-esteem, some people feel that those from whom they seek help will eventually discover that the shame is deserved, right? And it's not deserved. It's not deserved, right? You don't deserve to be shamed. You don't deserve to have to carry that load, for a lifetime, like Renee was saying. And some people do carry things for a lifetime, and you don't have to carry shame for a lifetime. Just begin to open your mouth and say something. And I know that's easily said than done, but again, I am not I am an advocate for counseling and therapy. I am an advocate for it. And if you feel like you need to go to counseling or therapy, you need to go. Don't be ashamed to go and get some help. Okay. And then it says that people fear because they will be, okay, so, and they fear exposure and worry that others will reject them when they see the truth. The truth, you know what, y'all? The truth do hurt sometimes, right? And sometimes, and I know this may seem crazy, and some people might agree, some people might disagree with it, right? But sometimes the truth hurt, but it's good for you. I don't know. I just think that the truth, it's gonna hurt you sometimes, right? But it's good for you. Why? Because that means that you're beginning to start the process of healing from that shame that you just keep carrying, that load that you keep carrying over and over and over and over for a lifetime. You just keep picking every morning when you get up, you pick that boulder up and put it on your back, or either set it on top of your head, and you just keep going with it. You keep going with it, right? But when you begin to expose that, when you begin to expose it, you'll realize that that boulder that you keep picking up every morning, you're going to start being lighter. Each and every morning, you're going to get lighter and lighter. Because why? Because you open your mouth and you said something, you spoke it, you spoke the truth about what was just eating you up, on the inside. And that's what you do. That's the first. I think that's within the counseling, within the therapy, right? Those are some of the first steps. I know in the beginning you probably won't, but then through the process, eventually you're going to open your mouth and you're going to expose those things that's shameful to you. The truth hurt, but the majority of the time it's good for you. You know how sometimes you have family secrets, right? And you're ashamed of them, right? But one thing about family secrets, right? If you don't expose them, you'll see that vicious circle that they begin to happen over and over and over again. I know when one thing that I said, that when I had my kids, that and I consider them generational curses. Some people just consider them, those things just happen, and we just need to talk about them, right? But that was one thing that I said I would stop. Right now, I was shamed, but one thing that I did talk about, I did talk about teenage pregnancy with my kids, right? And I did not want them to be teenage parents. So I did do that. I did open my mouth and I did talk to my kids about, protecting themselves. I had three boys, so, I made sure that they knew what to do. And because I wanted that part, I wanted that shameful part that I felt in our family to stop, right? And so it did stop, that they didn't have kids, so they was like 20, 24, 25, somewhere around in there, right? So when you carry those things that you shamed up, family secrets, things that happened to you, it can continue to hurt, or it can hurt when you expose it, right? But then after you expose it, then the healing process, begins to take place, right? It begin to start helping you. And again, your head start getting lighter, your shoulders start getting lighter, because now you don't have to carry those things anymore. You don't have to carry. So what they're saying here is how you heal this, how you get rid of shame. The help shame is that open your mouth and say something. Okay. These are self-defeating thoughts. Shame is treatable. No matter where it comes from, if you feel that your shame is deserved, it's important to know that your shame serves no purpose. Instead, it may cause you to harm yourself or others. Now I work at the hospital, right? And and some and sometimes you will hear things where people will say that they things are happen to them because of things that happen in their life, right? And they won't speak it because they're ashamed of it, right? But and they're holding it in. And sometimes I know for a fact, like when you hold things again, like I said earlier, like that, right? It begins to eat in you, right? And it don't only cause depression or anxiety, right? It causes physical harm, to your body, right? Stress, start messing with your heart, start messing with your eyes, and start messing with things, in your body, right? So beginning to talk about it, begin to relieve those things, from your body, begin to, shake them off, begin to make you feel better and start healing your body, right? So this she's talking about Brene Brown too. Okay. Brown's shame resilient theory is a comprehensive approach for preventing and overcoming shame. Brown argues that resilient to shame has four components, right? Four components. Okay. Recognizing signs of shame and understanding a person's trigger from shame, right? You have triggers, right, from shame. And like I was saying earlier about with me, right? If I got into, a group of people, right, I would just try my best to disappear, or I would just begin to maneuver myself, out of the crowd and leave. I would just leave, right? So my trigger was just being in the midst of so many people, right? Even sometimes when I would go, excuse me, sometimes when I would go to church, I would sit in the back of the church so I could leave, right? It wasn't good, right? Because my trigger was a group of people, a whole lot of people and stuff, right? So, and then the next one is critical awareness of shame, including its cultural and interpersonal function, right? So, cultural have a hold on the different forms of shame and how which ways you're being shamed and the functions of it, right? I know in I don't know, it might be the change, and I'm gonna say this, but then I might have to come back and uh and amend this, okay? But like in the Asian countries, like in China, and is it Japan too? Wherever. And not wherever, but it's somewhere in those Asian countries, whereas in the women lower graded than the men and stuff. So that bring on a shame for the women because they're not they're not being they feel like they're being a lowercase and being condemned and stuff, or being talked down to because they're not a male and things. So so in every culture, or either like with trying to think of different cultures that have different things. um uh, 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 well, even in our culture, in the brown community, right? We want to be more. You shame sometimes if you can't have children. That's something, So it's different things, with different cultures and stuff, right? And then reaching out to others to share your story, right? You know what? And I'm going to say something about this. I always say this, even when you share your testimony. I used to tell people, your testimony is not for everybody, right? And your shame is not for everybody. You got to make sure that you have discernment when you share it, because then you will go back to the part where, if you feel that your shame is deserved. Okay, it is important to know that your shame, sir. Okay, when you tell somebody, they'll make you feel like that you deserve the shame, right? So you have to be careful on who you talking to, right? That's why I say find you a good counselor, good therapist, right? To talk to. Sometimes you have friends, but sometimes your friends are not for this particular thing, right? You need to go to a professional and share these things with a professional, so they'll know how to continue the process, or where to start the process with you when you actually verbalize your shame. There's no way to go from that, and won't make you feel even shamer for is that a word? Even shamer for you even expressing the shame that you're feeling, right? That you that you're being vulnerable. And then we say that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a strength. But then when you continue to condemn with somebody, especially yourself, then that's gonna turn that statement around, right? So you want to make sure that you're with someone that's gonna respect what you're saying, okay? And giving voice to feelings of shame. Since shame derives much of its power from secrecy, right? That, see what I'm saying? Uh, we hold those things in us. It's a secret to us, right? And when we do, I'm going back to the other one about who you express these things to, because you're holding them as a secret. It's like some people hold it as their prized possession, right? That they have this thing and they don't want nobody else, to know about this thing that they're shamed for, that's holding them back, right? So once you express that thing, that you're letting you like they say, you're vulnerable. You're exposing yourself to that individual, right? And when you expose yourself to the individual, you want the right thing to come from that person. You don't want to get slapped in the face with it. So you need to make sure that who you're being vulnerable with, know what they're know what um how would I say, um let me just say that go to a professional. Go to a professional, yeah, and express yourself, right? And it says that let me go on down here. Yeah. So make sure that you go to someone that has experience with them. And it is not, I don't know why. I can't talk about nobody else's culture but mine, right? So I just want to say that there's no shame in counseling and therapy, right? Of all people, we need to talk to somebody, right? And and I'm not saying other cultures, I can't talk about other cultures because I'm not in that culture. But in our culture, we hold on to so much, right? And a lot of things, like Brene Brown said, we hold on to it for a lifetime, right? Take it to our grave. And we're holding on to those things for all of these years, and we feel like they said, that this is a treasure. Your shame, this shame is a treasure, and you're gonna hold on to it, and and you're gonna let it like I want to just say destroy your life, because you feel like that you have to hold on to it, and let nobody else, don't let it go. You hold on to it. You carry this boulder on your shoulder, or on your head, on your back, for the rest of your life. Whereas, and you don't have to do that, right? Truth again hurts, but truth is a healing process for us to be relieved from a lot of things. It don't make sense to hold on to it, right? I uh, sometimes you can say some things you can't say, but a lot of families, have a lot of shame, and a lot of people holding on to stuff, and it's killing them, right? So, what about your health? Why would you want to hold on to it, and continue to be depressed about it, especially when you really get by yourself. When you get by yourself, you think about a lot of things start coming up, in your mind and stuff, right? And sometimes you just can't let it go. And it just wear on you, keep you up at night, make you feel like that, you're unworthy, and you're not really loved by anybody, because they, sometimes we'll think that somebody knows, right? But a lot of times people don't know. It's just something that you're carrying, and your mind just go in all kind of directions, because you're so ashamed of that particular thing. But I am like Brene Brown, and I am so glad that I read that this book came out, and I read it, and I am so glad that I actually went to therapy, and released those things that I was carrying. I'm telling you guys, that thing was heavy, and I was able to release it, and I really feel good about it. And I would pray that somebody out there listening would begin to open their mouth and say something. But again, make sure you go to somebody professional, and expose yourself. Now, I know some people that's just not. I know some people that you can hold stuff, and then one day in your life you'll just get up and just say it. You know, you just say it, and just be done with it, and not care about what people say or what people do. And uh and I think that is a very bold step, and in some ways a good step. In some ways, I don't, for the individual, evidently it's a great step, for them, right? And I could just begin to say a lot of people, names that I know that have done that, and it has given them freedom, right? It has really like given them the freedom to express themselves and to live the life, that they want to live, and and not ashamed, of anybody saying anything, about, the shame that they were carrying, and just move on with their life, right? But others, they can't do it, right? And they need help, to be able to express it, and not only express it, but express it and be able to move on with their life, right? Because sometimes people can express, their shame, their feeling, and be ashamed of expressing their shame, right? And that's not the purpose of expressing your shame, or being vulnerable, speaking, your shame. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of expressing your shame is to be able to heal from it, right? And to be able to move on, with your life from the shame. Not that it's ever gonna Not that it's ever going to leave you, because it's been a part of you, right? But it won't be a, like for an example with and I know everybody interpret this scripture in a different way, like Paul said, forgetting about those things that's behind us, right? And pressing our way to the mark, which is, Christ Jesus, and it's interpreted a different way also. um I interpret that scripture as, I'm going to use myself as an example, right? That I I'm not letting the shame that I felt for all of those years dictate where God is sending me, right? But what I will do is use it as a testimony to help somebody else. So you're not truly forgetting. You're not forgetting, because some people just have amnesia, right? And think that they ain't never done nothing or had anything on them in their life. And I don't think that's what that scripture means. It means to me that you don't let it dictate your future. You forget about, okay, you was living in the world, so you did all of these things, right? But now, your eyes is focused, on a new thing now, right? But I'm not going to forget what I was and what I did and stuff like that. I'm not going to let it uh, ruin what God has created me for, what He's innate in me to be able to give, to His people. So my eyes is still focused, right? And if I ever need to bring up the things that I was shamed from, because I am, what's the name of the song that Milton Bronson say? I am free. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah, I'm free. So I will be able to use it as a testimony to help somebody else, right? And that's what I'll and I could be wrong, somebody else might say something different. I think that's when we go through things in our life, it's for to when we're healed from it. When we heal from it and we can talk about it, it's to help somebody else along the way, to come out of what they're going through, to be able to move into the purpose that God has designed them to be in, right? And I count it robbery for people that truly forget about what they've gone through and not willing to help somebody else that's going through the same thing that you went through, but now you have gotten so sedity that you can't speak those things anymore. And I just do not believe that that's why we went through the things that we went through. We went through the things that we went through to help somebody else along the way. Okay, so what about your health when it comes to shame? I didn't put shame on there because I didn't know for sure where I was going to come, with this health. But guys, I'm gonna tell you, even with our young people nowadays, they are carrying so much stuff that they don't feel like that they can express, you know, um, to people that they should trust, right? Because when they say it, they don't know what's going to happen, right? So it's their shame that they're carrying, until they could get to someone that they can share it with. And I really think that it's sad, and that's why uh, the conference this year is going to be on a new movement for purpose, right? Is that we have to begin to be more honest about who we are, right? And I think that when we again, when we're not honest about who we are and the shame that we're carrying a disease in us, right? And and I think the only way that you're going to be healed from it is that when you begin to open your mouth and say something, so God can truly use you in the things that He would desire for you to do here on this earth, right? Because we are little gods down here for God, right? And we are here to be we are His workmanship down here on earth to help His people to move into their purpose, right? And and the people that's going to be on the conference next week, they're going to help in this. Minister Teresa I'm talking about the conference now, y'all. Miss Teresa is going to be, and I worked it in with what I'm talking about tonight. And Minister Teresa is going to be talking about what she do with her ministry and helping people to come out of where they are, you know, in their life, especially with the homeless community and things, right? So, guys, I thank you so very much for coming out tonight. And again, I'm going to ask you the question: what about your health? What are you doing to begin to start your healing process? And tonight I talked about shame. And the most important thing about healing from shame is begin to open your mouth and express those shames. But make sure that you're with a professional when you do that, okay? Because everybody can't take what you say when it comes to your shame. They sometimes are turning around and make you feel even shamer than what you were before you opened your mouth and said something, okay? So make sure that you go to a professional, okay? Guys, I thank you so very much for coming out. Please listen to the replay, and we have a put this out there. Please go out and subscribe to the new YouTube uh, that's out there, Bridget Conversations, because all of these things that we do is Bridget Conversation, right? So I just made it as a whole thing for Spirit Love, and go out there and subscribe, please, and share. Um, with the share this. It might help somebody. I pray that it will help somebody. Okay, and share, and follow, and subscribe. Okay, guys. Again, I haven't been talking about this COVID thing, but guys, y'all, this thing is getting big again, and I know a lot of people don't want to wear their mask anymore because we was getting some freedom from it. But even if you vaccinated, y'all, please wear your mask and wash your hands. And you know, I don't know. I can't say enough about it because a lot of people, again, don't want to wear their mask, don't want to do this because they're vaccinated. But it really, from what I'm seeing, it doesn't matter. You can get it again because one of my family members got it and they was vaccinated. But please be careful out there. And if you haven't been vaccinated, please go get your shot. Go get your shot so we can come out of this pandemic. Okay, keep washing your hands and doing the things that needs to be done, and take care of your children. This thing is mainly for our children now. We want our children to be able to uh, come out of this and live a long life. Okay, we don't want to stop bearing our children. We want them to live a long life. Okay, all right, guys. I love you, and there's nothing that you can do about it but love me back. Okay, peace. I'm gonna put something out tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry. um our Thursdays is getting ready to change, right? I am going to my friends, they helped me for a little bit, and I want because I wanted to do something different for the Thursday. And I'm just going to start putting stuff out there for you to read until we get together and make this Thursday live live, okay? And I'll be saying some more stuff about it, not next week because the conference is next week. Guys, please share about the conference. I'm going to put that up before we go out, okay? And just share it